Hey, I'm Matt, and you're listening to That Time We Woke Up in a Podcast and Had to Explain Manga, our heated adventures over analyzing manga we find interesting, otherwise known as the OverMangaCast. This week, we are revisiting Fire Force by Atsushi Ōkubo. We're reading chapters 21-38, which puts us right about at the end of the Preacher Pursuit arc. If you're avoiding spoilers for some reason, there you go. Enjoy the show.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the OverMangaCast. My name is Sam, and as always at the top of the program we like to discuss what our familiarity with the franchise that we read is. We're coming back to Fire Force, so really for me the biggest thing that changed is one of my favorite cover artists did a cover of Inferno that's really, really good, so I looped that like 50 times and now it's in my head forever. So yeah, that's about the biggest change for me. How about you, Matt?
Yeah, I think I'm pretty much in the same boat. I have not touched Fire Force since we left it off last time. However, I did watch the anime with Sam and Jay up to the point of what we've seen. So the Hibana fight, in case it's been a while since you've listened to the Fire Force episode. As always, with being on Twitter, everyone talking about Fire Force ending, I have gotten some cross-pollination. Nothing major that I really understand. I just recognized a character that appears in this arc. So,
Jay.
Sure thing. So I have consumed no further media on Fire Force except for the independent viewing that we had, watching up into the point where we last left off. So yeah.
All right, and Jacob.
Yeah, same here. I haven't had the opportunity to get back around to it. Gosh, it was actually hard to stop this time because of how quick and breezy the read was in the best way. So I am seriously considering buckling down and actually, if I didn't have so many other things to read, dang it. That is always the problem, but
I mean,
yeah,
it is coming to an end, if not by the time this episode release, it will very shortly. It's a great time to pick it up.
I am seriously considering doing some catch up on it, but I haven't since the last time we read it.
We left off last time after the Princess Hibana fight, which was spectacular in animated form, as we suspected it would be. We rejoin our heroes in Special Fire Force Company number 8. Out on an infernal call. It's pretty standard. They defeat the monster. There's some sadness from the next of kin, as one can expect, and it seems to be pretty business as usual, except for the part that Hibana is now loitering about the company cathedral because she wants to be near Shinra.
She nails a voodoo doll to Obi's locker and says Shinra and leaves a note that says Shinra needs a raise or something to that effect. It's
She has reached top tier fangirl.
It is exactly what you expect of Princess Hibana. Okay, so this opening bit, it has something that I've absolutely got to talk about because this is such a big deal. So my biggest complaint with Fire Force last time, and I hold by this for the previous reading, was that they did an absolutely awful job of taking these like real world serious ideas of like grief and the bereaved and you know what it means to, you know, put someone out of their misery, and juxtaposing it way too close to really stupid jokes. Might have been fine onto themselves, but just did not work in the context of the scene that they were in because of how serious the previous stuff was. This opening bit was done exactly perfectly. Mm-hmm. Like, not to say that, like, you know, I mean, it was on like chapter 200 by the time we had released our episode. So obviously I don't want to, you know, I can't take credit for anything happening, but it does feel kind of validating that immediately after the section I criticized something for, the very first chapter in the next section solves that problem. It makes me feel like maybe I had a bit of a point there. The thing that was so serious in the immediate scene was the next of kin of the infernal that they had just put to rest.
His wife, specifically, I think.
She was yelling, "Murderers, give him back to me." You know, the rookies are making the comment of, you do realize that he was already dead before we got here for all intents and purposes. And then Obi points out, she is grieving and she can't handle it. And sometimes when people can't handle grief, they need to put the blame on someone. And we're here and we did put him down. So that's how she's handling this grief overwhelming her. Very somber scene, very strong scene, very well done. Then they get into the matchbox and they have okay, now here's the anime plot, contemplative phase. And then there is a beat. They move on to another scene. And then we just get a parade of absolutely, I don't know why these jokes got me, but absolutely freaking hilarious jokes.
I think it hit better for me just because like that's what you get. Like this entire like first chunk is like you had that big plot arc, and now we're getting like a snapshot of a day in the life of where they go out, they do their job. It's real like somber, and it's real like harrowing on them. Like people are telling them they're monsters, like murderers and everything. And then they go back to the firehouse and they have wacky hijinks with their family because they need that. They need like some levity after all it. And like the fact that you get that, like the job is serious, we're home, we're relaxing, jokes happen.
We need to relieve this gloomy atmosphere somehow.
The night and day of jokes didn't infect scenes that were really like dark and serious, and like that's something that to a large extent goes through this entire section. They do a really good job. Like there's one point where there's a serious scene happening and there are jokes, but I think when we'll get to it, I'll explain why. Despite the fact that I'm not a big fan of the jokes that happen there, I don't think that they ruin the tension of the scene because of how that scene is structured. Just like so much better. I wanted to like Fire Force, and now I have no reservations about it. I'm very happy.
Yeah, because we've been talking around it. The jokes are like wacky roommate shenanigans, and then at one point Hibana is just like, okay, cool, all the girls are showering now, and they're like, cool, well, I guess this fan service scene is happening, and like. If you've gotten this far in Fire Force, you need to just accept what kind of genre it's going for.
I don't particularly care about the fan service because it's kind of out of place in my face, but I'm also like acclimated to Fire Force's level of maturity at this point when it comes to that sort of thing. So I didn't let it detract from the scene, and then the jokes were also quite funny.
And like they didn't even really do much of the convenient like bubbles or hair or anything. They just went with Barbie doll anatomy.
Yep. Yeah, they just didn't.
Which, damn. Okay.
It's like the manga doesn't care about this, so I'm not gonna particularly care either.
I mean, in all fairness, that's what you get when you don't have to publish in Jump. Different magazines have different standards.
Yeah,
and we did get an absolutely great bit at the end where all the girls are just hanging out and chatting, and Shinra's like, "Wait, Hibana, when did you become such good friends with them?" And she's like, "Oh, we spent some naked bonding time together." And
naked bonding time.
We get an absolutely beautiful reaction image of Shinra's face.
He goes like full demon, and Arthur's just there going like, "You don't look like a hero."
Yeah. Leave my face out of this. So those two start arguing. The girls are chattering, and it is driving Captain Obi up a wall. So Hinawa screams at all of them.
I mean, Hinawa's not happy with them either, let's be honest.
But he directly says, "You're bothering the captain. Shut up."
He's trying to think of a plan to deal with the very serious things going on.
Also, this entire time, Hibana has been not so subtly trying to recruit all of the members to join her company.
Well, specifically she's Shinra, but anyone who wants to is free to come.
She's poaching. It's great. And,
I forget exactly what Obi says, but he says something to the effect of like the no scouting allowed in this establishment or something like that.
And she keeps doing it anyway.
Well, because she's Princess Hibana. Do you think she has any compunctions about following the rules?
No, I do not. Captain Obi does come up with his plan. He turns to Shinra and Arthur and says, "Get out. I want you out of this company." It's like, what do you mean, boss?
We're going to fire Shinra and Arthur. We're finally going to cut the dead weight.
I mean, that's what everybody thinks. The lieutenant is like, "Everyone leave the room. Get out. You're bothering Captain Obi." Slams hands on desk. "That's it. Shinra, Arthur, you need to get out." What?
Want to join Company 5?
No, wait. There's strategy here. Hang on.
I love the summer camp movie. I've read the camp bylaws level of plot convenience this is, where he's just like, no, you don't understand. New recruits are allowed a 1-month grace period where they are allowed to act as trainees to other fire companies. And I'm like, cool,
within the first year of them joining the special fire force.
That's why no one else is allowed to join, but only those two. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool, whatever. I'm on board, Fire Force. Okay.
It's almost as if these rules and bylaws were designed with the express purpose of justifying the plot lines that they.
They seem to be expressly designed so that you can spy on other companies.
Well, no, it's not even expressly designed to spy on other companies. It's expressly designed to facilitate this arc.
Yeah.
It's even more specific than that.
Well, I mean, aside from the infighting and politics aside, aren't they supposed to be on the same team?
They were formed to be on the same team, so this very much seems like pulling out a bylaw that's not usually enforced.
Yeah.
But
Obviously they developed their own individual factions, but when they were initially concepted, they were supposed to be, okay, we're all supposed to be a collective, we all have different specializations, but we're all supposed to be combating, human combustion.
Well, that's actually, I think even a layer deeper is that there weren't even supposed to be teams in the first place. This bylaw actually makes a lot of sense from that axiom, because there's supposed to be a more combat-oriented version of the firefighters because they're, fighting living fires.
They're fighting fire demons.
The fact that they've all turned into their own separate factions, it doesn't make sense for a bylaw like that to exist in its current context. But they're not supposed to be they're literally just supposed to be departments who cover a certain area of the city. They're not even really supposed to be territorial about it. They just are, because a combination of politics and the fact that there is a nefarious plot associated with spontaneous human combustion in the first place.
So Obi's like, we are going to use this to our advantage. You two are going to go join Company 1 as temporary trainees as an undercover investigation.
But we have to get some other minor characters to give them a little bit of extra panel time. Otherwise, it will be suspicious of what we're doing.
So I understand how they get Bubble Boy, because he works for Hibana. How do they get Potato? How do they get Juggernaut?
I don't remember.
I don't know what
either.
company he's from, is the thing.
He kind of just pops up and is just like, yeah, I'm trying to prove myself.
I think what they ultimately explain is they only planned on getting the bubble blowing guy, and Juggernaut just also happened to be like, hey, they're doing one of those training things. I'll do that.
He is from Fire Company 2, by the way. Who I only remember because that is the bald guy with the flaming head.
Oh, that's right. And there was the bit about was he bald first or did his scalp light on fire bit.
A fun bit.
It is. No, it's a really fun bit. I like it. Incidentally, not ultra relevant. This element of the story is not ultra relevant. They do point out that they were planning on just sending 3 people, the 2 people from Company 8 and the 1 person from Company 5, because those were the less than a year time people they had available. And it just so happened that when word got around that they were enacting that bylaw, hey, this guy in Company 2 wanted to do it as well. It's that's perfect cover. He has plausible deniability. He doesn't even know this is a mission.
It makes a lot of sense for Noto too, because his entire thing is he does not want to go on missions. He is terrified of actual fire. 1 month of training? Cool. That's not real things. I get to be protected.
Exactly. It's great. So our heroes arrive at Company 1, which is Sun Worship Notre Dame, it looks like.
It's the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, we've got an entire iceberg of the sun cult to talk about at the end of this, this episode.
Oh, I have many a Dark Souls joke prepared. This is going to be great.
We'll get there. Stay tuned for the discussion when we talk about this.
There are these holy Sol obelisk monuments, and each of them is the size of the Washington Monument. And there's 4 of them.
But Sam, do you even praise the sun?
Yes.
I'm pretty sure he is actually a sun bro. Way of the Blue, by the way, anyone who was wondering about me. Or Blue Sentinel, rather.
Our heroes, such as they are signed up for the training, and they start meeting up with the various LTs, including our boy, Lieutenant Kareem Flam, who repeats himself a lot.
Okay, so here's another interesting point where I have to compare with the last session. Fire Force is still on that line of gimmick overload even now. I don't think they quite broke me this time, but they got close. The only thing I want to like note when it comes to gimmicks is Lieutenant Flam was actually hard to read his sentences on occasion, and I had to do double takes. It doesn't hurt it in universe because strictly speaking it's not that different from like the Yoda vocal tick, for example.
The people in universe also need to double take when he says something
so I didn't mind it that much, but there were the odd occasion where I'm like reading a sentence in the manga and like my brain gets scrambled and I just have to stop, reset, and read again. And sometimes that can be a little bit annoying.
He's also particularly egregious with it when he's first introduced.
Oh yeah, that is the hardest of it.
But it kind of evens out.
Yeah. It's almost worse when it evens out because he'll talk regularly for so long and then he'll end a sentence with doing the gimmick, and that's when it's the most mentally jarring. It's one of those ones where it's like, I personally find this mildly annoying. It's not a problem with the series. I just don't like having to reread the speech bubble twice.
Company 1 Captain Burns, and Shinra is immediately like, 1v1 me.
Yeah, his spy mission goes about as well as getting up to the main boss and is like, hey, fight me 1v1, and if I win, you'll answer one of my questions. And
well, that's actually sort of the nice thing, because Shinra goes up to him and is like, I want a sparring match. And it's like, like there is that whole, like, he's going directly for it. But to be fair to Shinra, the situation, like, everyone knows there's a lot of distrust, and Shinra has already expressed he wants to know something from Captain Burns. I believe he even specifically mentioned the fire that killed his family and supposedly killed Cho. So like it's not even like it's a well-kept secret what Shinra is actually after. And the other thing I liked about it is Shinra recognized this guy is way stronger than me. He doesn't want to beat him in a 1v1 fight for answers. He says, if I can land a hit on you, you'll answer my question, which, I really like that, because, for as, like Shinra has a lot of place, a lot of space to grow into, the hero he wants to be, et cetera, et cetera. But like, this isn't one of those, it was a good step on the journey because he's able to accurately assess that, no, I can't beat this guy. And then we get a little exhibition match of the
lieutenants versus some of the other side characters.
They essentially just go, okay, well, if Shinra's fighting the captain, everyone else fights our top 3 guys.
Mm-hmm. And we have poor Juggernaut versus Lieutenant Rekka, who's very enthusiastic and always wants you to do your best. Try harder. You can do it. That's amazing.
Man has stars for pupils. Like, there is no bigger main...
And in his speech bubbles.
Yeah, there is no bigger, like, shonen protagonist than Rekka.
Because he uses his fists, you could argue that he also has a Rekka.
Yeah,
that's a fighting game joke.
He has a justice fist mentality. Like, he punches with fire.
Juggernaut's like, no, I don't actually know what I'm doing. I hate this. I'm just generating fire rockets. Ah! And Rekka just dodges all of them.
Lieutenant Flam was like, when this inevitably gets out of control, you're going to make me clean up this mess, aren't you? And it's like, yeah, but I know you will, because you've always got my back. And he dodges all of them, and Flam is like, don't dodge literally all of them. You're making me do everything.
And I know what you're thinking, dear listener. You're like, huh, man, last Fire Force, they started complaining about how some of the characters' powers made no sense and were barely related to fire at all. But these guys all seem really straightforward. Well, that's where Flam comes in. He's got the entire
Flam, kabam.
Of this power makes sense because I read one scientific article about something and extrapolated it to a point that it probably no longer works. But
he's my favorite.
There's an article that backs me up, so you can't criticize me.
I saw what his power was, and I'm like, this is either someone did Google Foo or they made this up whole cloth. and I looked it up. It does actually work the way he describes.
I believe it.
It's just it doesn't do it like it doesn't make ice spears.
We were literally talking about this earlier about how in theory and in practice this concept is actionable. However, I would argue that there's not significant evidence to demonstrate that it would be this severe, this extreme of turning literal flame to ice. Not cooling flame, which would be different. Flame to ice.
Yeah, it goes 180 from I found one scientific experiment that justifies my point of view, thus fire equals ice. Is the full justification.
Well, fire plus sound equals ice. Okay, yeah, let's describe what the actual power set is.
Because it is thermoacoustic cooling. Flam uses a bell and a weird giant brass instrument thing that looks like it's something out of a Dr. Seuss book to create sound waves.
You mean a sousaphone?
Yeah.
Tuba? Those exist.
I know, but this is clearly not one of those. It's modified.
Magic.
It's wacky, like a Dr. Seuss version of those.
Yes.
He uses the bell to draw the fire into the weird tuba thing, and it comes out the other side as ice. The real world principle it's working on is because heat is air molecules moving and sound is a regular wave of air molecules moving, heat and sound will actually interact with each other. And there are real world refrigerators that you can actually buy that do work on this principle. And they are actually fairly efficient, and they don't require a lot of moving parts. So they're very easy to maintain. I didn't go that deep into Wikipedia to know this for sure, but I assume that because it has something to do with sound waves, rattling your rafters is probably something to do with the reason why it's not widespread in use. But it is actually, you can get a refrigerator that works on this concept. Is this better or worse than our Lieutenant Hinawa changing the trajectory of bullets?
Don't get me started on the bullet Hinawa gets away with later. I'll have a rant compared to how his power does that when we get there.
So as stupid extreme levels of pyrokinesis lets us do full-on magic nonsense, this is like a 7.5.
This is fire makes me do ice. Ow, tuba. Okay. Cool.
They spend an entire page doing this explanation.
If I had been given the level of explanation bubble blowing guy did, or the lieutenant, I would have been fine with that, because they just offhandedly mentioned, yeah, my firepower lets me do this. Cool. This guy goes on an entire rant about you idiot, didn't you know about thermal acoustic cooling? Geez, everyone who's smart knows how it works. I'm just
yeah, I do know about it. It doesn't work like this. You don't.
It definitely doesn't work as efficiently as this. Anyway, we've complained about him. He absorbs all the fire and turns it into ice.
Yeah.
The next fight would be him, Lieutenant Flam, against the bubble blowing guy, and they both immediately are like, I don't care. and since from a narrative structure we've already got a demonstration of Lieutenant Flam, they just move on.
I appreciate that. That is a level of hey, we're giving the audience what they want. This guy doesn't want to fight. Done.
Yeah, I liked that.
So we skip straight to Captain Burns, and despite Shinra being 1v1, he's like, nah, I'll 2v1 you and Arthur, okay?
Yes. A worthy challenge for a knight such as myself. Now hold on. This is the hand I eat my rice bowl with, and this is the hand I hold my chopsticks with. Now I know which hand my sword goes into.
Oh my god, Arthur is such a dumbass.
I love Arthur so much, and all of you are wrong for not loving him as much as me.
The best part is it's quick, and it calls back to that gag in an entertaining way, and also kind of shows a bit of character development in Arthur.
Yeah, it shows that he is indeed a dumbass.
So Arthur's right-handed, right?
Yeah, but also he's self-aware enough that he is able to recognize that he made that mistake and doesn't want to make it again.
Mhm.
Again, Arthur would have been my favorite character if Fire Force didn't try to take itself as seriously, and circa Arthur isn't a good character for Fire Force and should be in something else if Fire Force really wants to be that like dark and grim and, you know, gritty and whatnot. But because they didn't like smooth over that joke and pretend it didn't happen, but they also toned it down to a degree that it didn't get in the way of, you know, getting on with things, which is basically the best possible way of handling that situation. So it was one of those ones where like I didn't personally laugh at the joke, but I appreciated that they like, you know, they didn't like chicken out on it or anything, you know.
Arthur goes in to slash at Burns with his laser sword, and he's like, actually, are you sure you want to do this? You don't have like, you could lose an arm. And he's like, no, that's not going to be a problem, as he bare hand catches Excalibur.
Excalibur is the finest sword. How could you possibly catch it with your bare hands?
I'll do you one better. Extinguishes it and knocks Arthur back. Not even Maki can do that. How?
Very perplexed. And then Shinra goes in for a hit. That Metal Gear Rising Revengeance song starts playing.
Yeah, it's a bit of the Raiden versus Armstrong meme, as Shinra's just trying to land as many blows as he can, but it's not working. Burns doesn't flinch, asks Shinra why he became a fire soldier, and when Shinra says, because I want to be a hero and save people from spontaneous human combustion. All right, well, you've got a long way to go, so sit down, and kicks him like halfway across the field.
I'm gonna go all out then, as his eye begins to glow with flame beneath his eye patch.
Mm-hmm. It's really cool.
He is cool. I would follow this man wherever he went.
Well, I think he's the villain.
I'm just saying, in the moment, it looks so magnificent and so just captivating to be just like, yes.
You know what? You're right. I guess we haven't seen anything that proves he is the villain.
Yeah, we don't know for sure yet, but
I mean, some characters will pop up and you're like immediately like, this dude is a villain.
He's definitely got villain energy and is antagonistic towards our crew, and for reasons we'll get to later, he is...
I mean, if it's Arthur, I completely forgive him.
But
it's a little harsh.
We'll get to who the villain that is fought in this particular section is later, and how that person is connected to Burns. Right now,
oh my gosh, his name is Mr. Burns.
Yeah, Captain Burns.
Why he joined the army. He was tired of that joke.
Oh, God.
Yeah, the thing about Burns is he basically, where we are at this point is it's a 50-50 toss up between he is one of the major villains or he's doing the like, I'm gonna beat you into character growth sort of mentor mentality. And honestly, I could see either one.
He's either a main villain or they're setting him up purposefully to be a red herring to like take away like, yes, he wasn't aware, but also he was a huge dick for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like the way that he was talking to Shinra, it really does come off as either he's trying to break the threat, he's trying to make Shinra grow, and if it's the latter, then that seems more like a death flag to me. But that seems more like a dead mentor incoming, because I don't think they're killing Obi.
I mean, here's the problem: making Shinra grow might also be the villain's. We'll get to why that might be also.
Yeah, well,
fair point.
Yep, we'll get to the Sun Pope in the exposition dump later, but right now...
Ed, we've got a lot to talk about the Sun Cult.
Yep. Right now, what I do like is that Lieutenant Flam goes up to our main boys, and he's like, yeah, you guys didn't stand a chance, but you put up a decent showing despite that, so you actually have a chance to really grow and become impressive fire soldiers. Keep at it. But he says it with that weird vocal tick and like his typical deadpan expression, and Shinra's like, oh, thank you for the encouragement. Arthur, what?
Arthur does not understand anything that Lieutenant Flam says at any point in all of this.
Look, Arthur is working on one core processing information. You can't throw too much at him.
Arthur is buffering.
Like literally, I can see the little wheel of doom.
Buddy, I'm not a calculator here. You're giving me math problems. I make toast. I make toast.
Arthur's literally a toaster because they have fire powers.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Bread pops out of me. Hey. Time for breakfast.
We get just a little bit of okay, now we're here at Company One's place. There's a bit about nobody uses bunk beds anymore. Someone could fall and get hurt when there's an emergency.
Plus,
Yes.
Only a really unsafe company would do that. We use it all the time. No one gets hurt. You get hurt every morning. So do you. It's like,
it's pretty great.
Yeah, that tracks.
and then Daddy Hinawa comes to check in on his boys. Which,
I love this.
I loved this scene on so many levels.
Apparently, Lieutenant Hinawa has been showing up every morning outside the barracks in order to check on Shinra and Arthur, to the point where Shinra, like a week into the training...
It's been 5 days straight so far.
Yeah. He's like, Lieutenant, I really appreciate it, but we are trying to be subtle here. And to
the point where the guard can already recognize, oh, you're going to go check on your boys, right?
Oh, the nun's giggling about how cute he is for checking in on his subordinates is the best part.
It's Hinawa hears this and says, "Thank you, I do my best."
And then he goes over to Hibana, who is also here for some reason, which is a hilarious joke. But the thing that really made me love this, because that was a funny joke, and I enjoyed that for the comedy beat. Hinawa goes over to Hibana and is like. And, he watches the nuns leave, and as soon as it's just the two of them, he's like, they don't give a damn we're here. They're not afraid of an investigation. I don't think that there's anything in their compound that can be found, because if there was, they would be concerned about me showing up every day, or us showing up every day. And it was such a funny joke, but then it's like, but there was purpose to it. It wasn't just a humor beat that meant nothing. They were scouting. Which was, I thought that was really cool, layering it that way.
Yeah, no, it's very good. And I do like how Hibana and Hinawa are just kind of chill with each other.
Well, I mean, when Shinra's involved, you gotta have to be. He's not gonna let anyone touch Shinra.
Yeah.
They both care about Shinra in their own, different ways.
Look. Hibana's got a problem with his boyfriend. Not with Hinawa.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
That comes later, okay?
Yeah, general shenanigans are happening. One thing we did forget to mention is there is a little bit of a teaser panel as we know it's one of the captain or one of the Company One lieutenants, because we see the boots and the
we see the shoulder
robe cloak that they wear.
We specifically see a part of a shoulder, because there's a bit that comes up later that there was a distinguishing feature on one of their robes that I went back to previous panels to see if you could catch that to figure out who it is early. And the way it's paneled is particularly set up to avoid showing that particular section of the robe. I'll mention in detail once we get there. We're pretty close to it.
But yeah, this mysterious figure is on the phone saying the infernalization is going as planned. The new recruits show some promise, and they are obviously investigating us. If they get in the way, I will have to kill them. Now, if you'll excuse me, Evangelist.
Dun, dun, dun.
Excuse me, Evanescence.
No. Do not wake me up. Do not wake me up inside.
Oh, but I like that song.
Everyone likes that song, and anyone who says they don't is lying to themselves.
Feel free to @Jay on Twitter.
Yes.
But
let's summon that Tulpa of a Rage demon again.
There is an emergency call going out.
Yeah. We got a tease of someone called the Evangelist, and then it had been a quiet 5 days since they got there, which was strange because Company One had been dealing with, like, not daily, but they've been dealing with semi-regular, like, multiple infernal incidents all happening simultaneously.
Yeah. I think also we probably didn't really connect. The scale between Company 8 and Company 1 is ridiculous. Company 1 has like full dormitories and
Oh yeah,
whole
they have a whole
church service.
compound. Yeah.
You've got like nuns everywhere, as opposed to Company 8 only having one nun.
Well, Company 8 is one building, and it's a small rundown building. Company 1 is an entire compound.
Mm-hmm.
There are like 10-ish foot, like perimeter walls.
Some might ask why, but
yeah, it is incredibly impressive and a little suspicious. And also, I don't think we actually explained the reason why Company 1 is the target of their undercover investigation. It's because Company 1's jurisdiction has been seeing a lot of multi-infernal outbreaks. It's not just one random person going up, it is several simultaneously. Which is unusual. And there is one thing that I think we should just note right now, because it's interspersed through a lot of different places. And if we try to place it, each of like the individual pieces of this, it will break up everything else in a really hard to listen to way. We get a lot of intercut stuff with Hinwa, Hibana, and Obi talking amongst the three of them, where what we learn is there has been several cases where some of the infernal incidents have been happening not in places accessible to the public. They've been specifically places that only Company 1 should have access to under regular circumstances. And it's like that happens one time, maybe two. You could say that somebody broke into a place that they weren't supposed to. Like that's weird, but not necessarily that suspicious. But it's happened multiple times at this point, and it's really starting to look very, very, very suspicious. Like everyone's eyes are on Company 1 all of a sudden.
It's like if Company 1 went to the casino and kept winning at blackjack. Technically, I guess they really could just be that lucky and keep winning, but most likely they're counting cards.
And another thing is, some of these infernal incidents just seem to be random happenstance. There's reason to believe that the ones happening specifically around Company 1 are artificial, as in someone is manually causing people to become infernals.
Well, yeah, that's why the multiple people going infernal at once is assumed to be artificial, just because, like, otherwise the sheer random happenstance of that.
But there is also another factor that has added to the suspicion, because again, this is part of it gets interspersed through a lot of places, because there's a whammy panel of us seeing this in action, where which is honestly right about where we are anyway, which is why I don't mind saying. Also, hopefully you've already read the section, dear listener, but we get a whammy panel of someone putting a bug on a civilian, and as Hibana is mentioning to Obi, some of the infernal corpses that we've been able to obtain from the Company 1 area have had foreign DNA, insect DNA. Like Shinra and Arthur are told, stay here, observe, we have a chain of command, we don't want to mess with it. You're here to see how we do things, so, just hold back for us. And whilst everyone is off doing their own thing, Shinra notices out of an alley there's a civilian whose back is turned towards an alley, and he sees someone in a lieutenant's uniform place something, like the audience gets a close. Actually, no, Shinra also apparently has better than 20/20 vision. He has 20/10 vision. And he sees the bug come out of the little glass jar, crawl onto the civilian, and he suddenly goes infernal. Arthur immediately notices at that point, and both he and Shinra head towards the infernal, but Shinra goes around the infernal, using his mobility to chase after the suspect. Yes.
Unfortunately, going down this alley, he doesn't manage to catch up to the suspect quite in time, and he goes into an area where he sees two of the lieutenants. It's Lieutenant Flam and Rekka. Is it both of them? Is it just one of them? How do we decide who to attack? And actually, Shinra does a shockingly wise thing for a shonen protagonist, and he doesn't immediately start throwing around accusations and leaping into combat, which is what Arthur tries to do.
Yeah, boy, Arthur wants to solve this problem at the head.
Yep.
Yeah, Arthur doesn't entirely know what's going on. I wonder if he entirely understands he's on a secret mission. He's
Clearly
just
he
kind of
does.
there.
Because in the very next section, he's super prepared for being on a secret mission.
That's true. He's not super consistent about it.
He job changes from knight to assassin.
Oh God.
Looking like we're out of Eden Zero. Yeah.
That's some Eden Zero shenanigans there. Oh God, if Arthur was in Eden Zero, he'd be a contender for top tier. I love that. Yeah, so Arthur didn't see any of the suspicious stuff going on. He just saw someone go infernal, so he has no clue what's going. Like he was like, Shinra, the infernal is right here standing in front of me. Where are you going? You know, once he sees the two lieutenants, he immediately clams up about it because he knows, you know, if both of them are in on it, then if I say anything, they will just kill me. Like they will just kill me right here. And there's nothing I can do about it. He mentions the infernal that he saw that there was one outside of the perimeter that had been created and handled it and then subsequently got lost, which for Arthur will become a theme.
They managed to not arouse too much suspicion. They complete the call. They head back. Arthur changes from knight to assassin. And they decide to investigate some of the rooms of the lieutenants in question, and they start with
my favorite part about that job change joke is the very next panel. He goes, "Nope, I'm a hero," and just switches back to being a knight.
After Shinra points out, after all your obsession with knights, I'm a knight again. So he takes the hood off.
He just takes the hood off. But yeah, Arthur has honestly, it's a pretty clever bit where he has smaller disposable versions of the focus that he uses for Excalibur.
Mini Excalibur.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in order to shrink it down, it has to be made out of weak plastic, so it's useless after the first attack, but it's perfect for precision jobs, like cutting open the lock on a door.
You idiot, he'll know we're here. I mean, Shinra's response is, "You idiot, now he'll know we're here. Now he'll know someone broke in."
Did you think that we would be able to make any headway in this investigation if we weren't ready to take risks? How naive, Shinra.
Which in all honesty, I really like that response because he's not wrong.
Yeah, no, I actually really liked that. I'm like, damn, Arthur actually out here asking tough questions.
Arthur's a decisive boy. He picks a path and he goes down it, and he's like, cool, we're being sneaky assassins. We're doing this. Don't chicken out on me. Sounds like you're chickening out. As like, how are we going to break into this locked case? Slice.
he just he just does it like Shinra isn't even there.
Oh my God. And it leads to my favorite 2-panel spread of them like looking in, and inside the drawer is one of the bugs in the bugs they've been investigating, these little like fire bugs in a jar, and like a full big old file on human or man-made infernal combustion. And as they are looking at this, the door is just wide open, and standing in there is Flam, and he's just like, well. You've very clearly broken into my room.
Both of the boys are ready to just jump him because he's obviously the villain, right? And he says, fortunately, I was already aware of the buggy bugs, so I bugged the bug by placing it in my room so that you bugs would come investigate.
Oh my God, I love this logic because it's essentially like, I see you found that crack cocaine in my drawer. That's because I'm secretly hunting the people who smoke crack cocaine. Not because I do it, no. That's someone else's. And I'm like, okay, buddy. It turns out he's telling the truth, but that is the level of his explanation.
It's very funny.
Well, we'll get to that later. We get a thing where Flam is like, so that's what the whole coming out of the alleyway thing was, huh? The only two people in the at the end of that alley were me and Rekka, and I didn't want to think it was true, but I did suspect, in spite of how much I trust and care about him, that he might be the one behind this. And specifically, the detail that I had noticed is that Rekka actually had some stitching over a rip in his robes. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to go back and see if you could see where the stitching would be. So then if there was no stitching, then it was Flam. And if there was stitching, it was Rekka. The panel is framed in a very specific way to not show you the section on the robe where the stitching would be.
Yeah, so I guess this is a good enough time for me to ask as any, because whenever we get Flam and Rekka, they're always shown this like same picture of them entering the Force together, where it's them as part of a trio of friends. Who is the third guy? I know he shows up, but I don't remember anything about him.
I think his name is Lee.
He shows up. He shows up later.
He was also part of the reason why the scrap that Shinra started went so quickly, because Bubblegum Man said, I got nothing to show off. And Lee said, I don't like doing pointless fights.
Oh, he was the guy who doesn't do pointless fights.
So Jacob forgot.
I forgot he was.
Well.
I forgot he was the one who did that, because I remember when he actually does do stuff.
I'm just saying at this point, they always bring up that like, yes, us three were inseparable friends. And I'm like, bro, I don't know who one of these characters is.
By the end of our reading, Lieutenant Lee does show up to lend a hand.
God damn it.
He does show up, and I was also unaware of who he was at that point.
Sam, too soon.
They basically come to the conclusion that the only people who have coats like them are... Actually, Arthur found this out by asking some nuns, is that the only people who have coats like this are the three lieutenants. They've got, like, the priest cloaks or whatever.
Yeah.
And they come to the conclusion, it's got to be Rekka. Well, we got to go confront him. He's like, can't. He's out on patrol. What? Well...
Yeah, he took Tamaki with him.
Yeah, didn't you hear there's been a bunch of disappearances of children lately? And... Dear reader, I need to let you know, the next panel where it goes, Tamaki is the secret person luring these children into an abandoned warehouse. Hilarious. But then, in the greatest twist of anime history, no one could have possibly seen this coming. It turns out that a priest was abusing children.
Wow! I never would have suspected such a thing was possible. Oh, incredible. Dear. Wait a minute, isn't the Fire Force heavily based off of Catholicism as well? Or
in the same way that, like...
Let's not get too topical.
I don't know, dude. We got to talk about the fire cult.
Yeah.
Yeah, we still got to talk about the fire cult.
But yeah, there is this beautiful, beautiful in the most... as an insane panel of the two kids walking home from school. One of them mentioned something.
Kid, you want some candy?
Tamaki just leaning in with this incredibly menacing framing.
They set Tamaki up to be like, oh, you thought it was Rekka. No.
I will say, and again, hopefully, dear reader, you've done the reading. Shockingly, they didn't make the cute girl the villain. But I kind of wish that she was actually in on it entirely, because you don't see that ever happen. And like, cute girls can be evil. What happened instead, I'm also on board with. It's really more of an opportunity cost thing rather than any kind of problem.
I did skip over some bits to set up my joke, but so essentially what happens is there's been children who have been disappearing, and it cuts to Tamaki, who is luring these children into an abandoned warehouse under the premise that they will be kept safe from infernal combustion, because Rekka has claimed that he has finally divined the prayer that makes people immune from turning into infernals. And I'm like, good job, Rekka. You have literally solved the world's problems by yourself. This is an entirely believable thing. And in all fairness, the manga does do its work. We've skipped over it a bit, but like, it does put in the work to at least show you Tamaki respects Rekka so much.
She is actively infatuated with him.
There is hero worship on display here.
Yeah.
So she's like, yeah, of course. He's also one of the top 3 like priests at the company. So like, if someone could do something magnificent, I guess it's probably him. Essentially, what it then turns out is this is not a prayer to make you immune to fire. This is, we're going to light these children on fire with bugs because one of them might be special.
He doesn't explain a whole lot of it.
I don't think he could explain a whole lot of
Yeah.
it. He's drunk the Kool-Aid.
Oh, he's drunk the Kool-Aid hard. He basically says, like, one of them should be able to contain the spark, as in they'll get stung by the bug and then not explode into an infernal.
Once everybody realizes what's really going on, Rekka Rekka starts off by hugging Tamaki hard enough to knock her out, and then that's the point where one of the kids' moms is there, and she's like, "This is starting to seem kind of suspicious. We're gonna go." At which point,
the year award right there. This is when it started seeming suspicious. Not when we followed the priest into an abandoned building. No, it was when he choked out his young female assistant.
Yeah, teenage assistant. But he immediately infernal bugs her, and when she goes up, he instantly puts her down. Well, I didn't think that would work, but it was worth a try.
Anyway, now on to the kids.
And props to Fire Force. They do some child murder.
Yeah, they don't shy away from it. Again, it's one of those things where, like, I don't think it's unreasonable to say Fire Force wants to have a dark tone. It's really dark.
Yeah, he infernalizes one of the kids. It's something.
It's very gruesome. It's really well done.
Now he actually tried to kill Tamaki, but she
no, he didn't want to kill her specifically. He wanted to leave her knocked out in that location so that she would take the fall for him.
He was gonna make it look like a suicide later, so he wanted her unconscious to kill her later. His plan for setting her up to take the fall did not make sense to me, but he's also kind of unhinged, so I don't think it matters.
I was going to say he's an extraordinarily sane person who is making good decisions with his life, generally speaking. So
look, you listen to Evanescence a little too much.
But yeah, he's able to get a second kid with the infernalizing bugs. This kid doesn't go infernal.
Well, kind of does, and then it snaps back in.
Yeah, he's able to get it under control, and ooh, I found one! I've finally succeeded! Hurrah! And that's the point when Tamaki had woken up, I think, to see the first kid die. But she wasn't in a condition to do anything about it, and that's when we get the "I was planning on making you take the fall," and he has that. I'm so thankful for you doing this for me, as she's like bleeding from her mouth and stuff.
So Tamaki, props to her, attempts to stop him, but she loses that fight pretty quickly.
Well, that's the thing, is she wasn't actually attempting to stop him, it turns out. She was making it look like she was going to fight him while also flaring off her power in a giant spire. She did try to stop him at first. When he slapped her down, that was when she switched to plan B, that very clever plan B.
When he slapped her down and started kicking the shit out of her while she was on the ground. He's like curb stomping her. There is onomatopoeias of bones breaking. It is brutal what he does.
Very sane individual we have here.
Indeed.
In the greatest plot twist of all time.
So Tamaki does use her tail fires to send up a flare for assistance. Thankfully, Shinra happens to be flying around the area looking for Rekka. So, just as Rekka's about to go and infernalize another kid, our favorite devil drops in from the sky and kicks the hell out of him.
When he drops down, he's got this cool fire effect of like the wings of an avenging angel.
And the shadowed silhouette of his eyes and the toothy smile.
Yeah, I gotta say, this fight has some of the best glamour shots in this entire manga that we've read so far.
Oh my god, that's exactly what I was gonna say.
It's this fight is amazing. I've got a lot I would like to say about this fight.
Often the art is. Oftentimes, I'm not saying like the art is bad, because it's not. It's good, but
it's stylized.
It's stylized, and it's mostly just serviceable in scenes when talking is happening. But Ōkubo goes hard on these fight scenes, and it's beautiful.
I got a lot of Hellsing vibes, not in the sense of the art style being similar, but the way that like light and shadow was used to create cool like images, you know. There's of course I think the best one was Sam put this in our Discord, the image of Shinra right before the fight happens. Rekka opposing that is also like an unbelievably cool panel, and the way that like Shinra's whole body is like blacked out in shadow, and it does the like the eyes and the toothy grin thing, and he has like the like flame wings coming off of his feet and stuff, and like Rekka has like the right left opposed you know, hero villain imagery.
Yeah, can we talk about the hero villain imagery in this fight? Because I think that's my favorite part. Is like the way this fight is set up is you have ostensibly like they made Rekka out to be irredeemably like crazy, like he is evil coming from a person who doesn't really believe in the concept of evil. Like that's like this guy is evil, and he is being fought by Shinra, who wants to be a hero, and like the motivations are opposed on that end, but like the way they're designed could not be the opposite. Like Rekka is in like a holy priest garb, using fire punches as he's like shouting out justice. Like all his attacks are justice based. He's got the stars in his eyes.
Justice fist.
He's your go-to like shonen protagonist. I am the hero. Meanwhile, you've got Shinra jumping in, who because he uses his feet to kick is on all fours through most of the battle. He's got this like bestial appearance, and he's just like. Yeah. It is a hero versus a villain, except they are stylized in the opposite way. Rekka is drawn as the hero, and Shinra is drawn as like a demon, effectively.
Well, isn't that in line with how the first chunk that we read was
yeah, the devil's footprints.
Like that's the thing is Shinra wants to be a hero, but everything about his moveset is making him like
not
come
just
out
his moves,
like
his also appearance. The fact that he has like pointy shark-like teeth, and the fact that whenever he's feeling nervous, he has that very guilty-looking smirk that comes on his face. He looks tried and true like a villain.
And I think that's just portrayed in this fight so well, because you get that like flip of like what is actually happening with what you're watching. Because here's the thing, I bet if you showed someone this fight without like any context of the characters, they might think it's supposed to be the other way around, because it's...
Well, that's actually something I was going to mention, because the thing that I thought was that elevates that from being a cool stylistic choice of making the good guy look like the bad guy and the bad guy look like the good guy, because of the way that the paneling is framed, and because of the way that the character designs are presented in the images they're in, you do have like these like villain flags on Shinra and these hero flags on Rekka, but at the same time there is sort of a you know, swooping in like sort of heroic element to the way that Shinra is shown like opposing his like villain aesthetic, and Rekka looks really, really freaking threatening, despite the fact that like all of the like individual elements of his character design says he should be a hero. The thing that I like most about it is if you were to show, just for example, take the speech bubbles away and show someone who knows nothing about Fire Force just the image of Rekka and Shinra opposing, like with those opposing stances right before they actually begin their fight, I feel like it would be like it wouldn't be 100% people would think Shinra is the bad guy. It'd be like 60-40 people thinking Shinra is the bad guy, because they both kind of look evil. It looks like a villain fight.
One of the things that happens is they have their cool pose standoff as after the initial scrap, and Shinra is flaring up his feet, and the bug inside the jar is reacting to the flames, which means something to Rekka. It means that Shinra has the Adola Burst, the Unsullied Flame.
And what does this mean, you might ask?
I don't know.
He is the Kwisatz Haderach.
I don't know what it means. All I know is I started playing the Gwyn boss music.
Excuse me, Jacob. The difference would be the Kwisatz Haderach has established lore for what they are capable of doing. What the Adola Burst is something even scientists cannot tell the difference between.
It is different. How you say it, you ask? We don't know.
Science cannot know. And I'm like, what?
Well,
okay.
They say science has not yet determined, but like, yeah, no, it is.
I'm just saying.
Protagonist mysticism.
When one of these flames is worthy of being kept in a nuclear reactor and not just in a fireplace, maybe there is a scientific difference you could determine there. I think that sentence was dumb, but.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
But this is somehow a more pure fire, a spark that comes directly from the sun god, or at least that's their belief.
That's the cultists' belief. That's how they phrase it.
And Rekka says that I have been trying to find the spark of an Adola burst in children for years now. And Shinra is like,
in children?
In children, how many? So the fire that Hibana and Iris were the only ones to survive. How many people have you killed? It doesn't matter. It's a small sacrifice to our ultimate goal.
Speaking of Rekka being unfathomably evil.
You know, I'm gonna bite. What mayhaps is the ultimate goal?
We will make this world pure. We will remove the fear of flames from humanity by turning all humans into flame. The earth will be burned and wreathed in holy fire. It will be a second sun.
Yep. I mean, he's not wrong. You will remove the fear of fire.
Oh. And then everyone who's read Soul Eater is like, wait, a second sun?
Yep.
Oh no.
Well, we get a really cool image of when he gives that speech at the end of that. We get a fun whammy panel. I've only seen I've read a couple of chapters of Soul Eater. I've seen a little bit of Soul Eater stuff, but like a whammy panel of that sort of like uncanny valley, like, you know, early Renaissance face sun. Just like in a splash page.
You're going to make the planet into a star, he says with the stars in his eyes and the stars in his speech bubbles. Enters such a religious zeal at this point that he is overcharging his fire attack. His fire fests, burn my star fest, to the point where even though he is a third generation pyrokinetic and, you know, relatively immune to fire as a result, Shinra's like, you're going to burn yourself to ash if you keep doing this.
This is getting into the second phase of the fight. There was another bit where the whole Lucky Letcher lore thing happened. I didn't find those jokes particularly funny, but they happened. But the reason why it didn't take me out of the moment like the previous section had is I think the thing that it did well is that there was a noticeable break in the fight, because we get a first section where it's just a really cool shonen fight, and there's like a break in the fight where Shinra's like, okay, I have assessed my skill relative to my opponent. I am mildly screwed right now. Got it. I'm gonna have to try something crazy. And as he's like coming to this realization, that's when they do like the joke bit to break it up. But there's like a clearly delineated next phase of the fight, and I mean, Tamaki's in her underwear for the rest of the time that we're going through this, but
I didn't think the first joke was funny, but then when it immediately one hit punches you with the next one and she just burns off everything, I'm like, okay. That got me just from like, I thought I knew what I was expecting, and then it doubled down. I thought it was just going to do the one joke to break up like a serious fight, and I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Not my cup of tea. But then they double down on it. I'm like, this is ridiculous what you've done.
Yeah.
And now you're sticking with it continuously. You know what you're doing. Okay.
Yeah, it was the placement of it in a necessary lull in the fight that didn't break up the tension, because that is a downbeat in the tension curve.
Yeah, and like the one thing I will tell about Fire Force, it knows what it is.
Yeah.
So like, yeah.
Yeah. So once you start questioning it, it will immediately double down and say, "How dare you question me?"
I'm just saying, it has never not been a shonen show that also heavily features fan service. Like,
yes.
Like, you don't go into an ecchi series and go like, man, why are there all of these women taking their clothes off? What is this? I'm here for deep interpersonal drama. And like,
this is the wrong genre.
You're in the wrong place, yeah. Well, and the point that I'm trying to make is that the way that they wove that element of that fundamental part of Fire Force was placed so much better, and it didn't break up important emotional beats, which is what the problem was last time.
In all fairness, the fight needed something. Maybe you can say it probably didn't need that. It needed something there because it got real heavy and needed a breather.
Yeah, that was a natural downbeat. So Fire Force did a Fire Force, and that's why, despite the fact that I didn't find the joke particularly funny, it didn't bother me or lessen my enjoyment of the fight. And in all honesty, that's exactly how you do it. You know, everyone's taste in humor is different. I mean, back to our Dragon Ball episode, we had wildly different opinions on which jokes were funny or weren't. But I mean, one of the points where there was a bit of a bone of contention of it was when they told the same joke 3 times in a row. And if you didn't like it the first time, you're not going to like it the other 2.
And then you're like, man, I really didn't like those 3 times jokes. And then you're recording a podcast where your co-hosts decide we're going to explain it each of the times it happened. And I'm like, please, God, kill me.
And you know what? Fire Force didn't do that in this section, and I'm happy about it.
Rekka is charging up his super. He's dumping all his meter into this super, and just as he's about to unleash his most powerful move, his arms freeze because Lieutenant Phlegm has showed up with his thermoacoustic cooling.
That's how it ends, because what ends up happening is after the downbeat of the joke, we get Shinra has to do his Hail Mary, and the thing I really like about this, and the reason I wanted to bring it up, was like the strategy in the fight was really good, the fight choreography was excellent, and like Shinra's like I can't beat him head on, he's stronger than me. That's just absolutely true. So I had to come up with some kind of strategy to overcome him. And he realizes you need your feet planted to put power behind your punches. And I can fight in midair because I have air mobility by, expelling fire from my feet. And he knocks Rekka down, and like that should be the end of the fight. And Rekka gets up again anyway. But like Shinra is spent, and it's like, oh crap, this might damage me permanently. I was getting Deku flashbacks, but then Flam arrives and freezes Rekka in place.
Rekka is ready to evaporate the ice, even though that will steambroil him, because again, he is a zealot. And Flam just finishes turning him into an ice block.
Don't worry, I left air holes. How?
I left air holes so that we can take him back to the cathedral and get some information out of him. Boom! And
he's been silenced.
We get probably my favorite panel in the manga.
It's a really good panel.
Yeah, there's an explosion after a flash, and the reaction shot of Rekka in the ice block, still with like his teeth grit in his Zeal mode, and a massive hole punched through his chest, and out of the like foot of ice that the rest of the hole is in, this perfectly circular hole, his blood is pouring out of it like a tapped tree trunk.
Mm-hmm. It's
yummy.
If you guys have ever seen an ice luge where they pour like alcohol down at the top to make a drink, it's exactly like that, like the splort of liquid at the bottom. I'm like, oh
yeah.
If you hang out in those circles.
I mean, I would assume everyone does. That seems like a very normal thing to do.
Mm-hmm. It is.
I am so glad I'm a hermit.
It is an incredibly brutal panel. There was a lot of panels in this reading I wasn't ready for. Some of them were Barbie doll anatomy. Then the others were this.
Though I personally, the thing I enjoyed was the next bit where we get to see our fire snipers, because the way that he prepares his attack is so freaking cool.
Mm-hmm. These mysterious figures in white hoods that one of them creates a bow and arrow out of fire, like drawing it out of his fingertip in order to snipe from an immense distance, apparently with the speed of an arrow, but the force of a RPG missile.
It's like a cannon. It's like a cannonball cannon, especially considering we saw the hole it left in Rekka. Yeah, this is the part where our third member of the trio that always has all 3 of them actually becomes relevant. Because
the snipers are still raining fire in order to silence everybody, and Kareem is about to get hit, so Lee lends him a hand and knocks him out of the way.
That his arm gets sniped off.
Still
Is
too
what
soon, Sam.
Is what Sam's trying to say here. I love that this character I don't know comes in with a fedora and just goes, Flam, I'm going to save your life. Hey, you're the guy from the photo. And I'm like, who is this character?
Yep, and his arm gets shot clean off his body. They finally decide to get down. I understand this is happening over a brief handful of seconds, but come on, how do you not immediately dive for cover after what happened to Rekka?
Especially because I think Flam starts talking as if he is constantly aware of how to deal with sniper combat.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the way that I feel like this would probably play better in animation, because basically the way it goes down is everyone else is looking around confused and panicking, and Flam is ordering them to get down into cover, and in the time that he gets that sentence out is when the sniper goes for him next.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's probably like the economy of panels makes it seem like they're standing around for longer than they actually are, because we do get like a 2-page spread of the like charge up of the bow sniper shot. I really like the way that they get out of that situation too. They're able to get in cover, and the snipers are pinning them down, just peppering shots into abandoned warehouse. The way they're able to all get into cover is Flam tells Shinra to basically make a smoke screen, and they get behind some pillars. And then he tells Tamaki to use her flame tails to, like, they know where the fire is coming from. Send your flame tails in that direction, but don't go directly towards it. Take a zigzaggy route.
Mm-hmm. This will prevent you from revealing your position and help us start threatening them.
He then, before the flames are able to get there, he freezes them, so they're basically big zigzaggy arrows pointing in the direction of the snipers. And even before he explained to them, like, oh, that's really clever. They're snipers. They don't want to be, they don't want to reveal their position, that because one of the people there is so badly injured, they don't have the time to fight these guys. They need to leave.
Yes. Snipers. They are a superstitious and cowardly lot.
But yeah, I mean, because like one of the things is like Tamaki's flames, like Tamaki's not weak, obviously, but Tamaki at that range is not going to be able to actually do damage. So what
Tamaki also was choked out earlier, so she's definitely not 100%.
She's not in good condition, and she's not trained for long range combat like that. Like she's not, her power set isn't built for this fight. So Flam basically uses it as a bluff, and the ice is blocking sight lines, which will help them sneak away if it doesn't get the snipers to leave. It's really clever.
It is.
But anyway, they all make it out. And the arc kind of just fizzles to an end because they're like, and then we had to leave our training thing because obviously we weren't going to keep going after one of the lieutenants of the company we were in was murdered.
Yeah.
And another was disarmed.
Yeah.
There's one thing that happens that it's built up to like it's going to be a bigger thing, but it's handled sort of swiftly. The notable thing is that one of the snipers says, well, whatever, we silenced Rekka, let's get out of here. The Pyrogenesis Festival to the Sun God is beginning as planned. And
that didn't end up being as much of a plot point as I thought it was going to be at the time.
Yeah, and immediately we start receiving calls that absolutely titanic infernals with multiple cores in them have started appearing in each district of the Special Fire Force.
They are then proceeded to be killed all in a page.
We needed to show all of the captains doing cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get the feeling that this, it feels like it's some sort of distraction for something that's happening. And we know that this weird cult, it does lots of obfuscation. So
wheels within wheels.
It also could easily just be a proof of concept of we can make multi-core infernals.
Mm-hmm.
Like they made I don't think it's supposed to be like it wasn't supposed to accomplish anything. I think it was a show of force because
Yeah.
Like, you can say, like, you think the cult's being written weird, but, like, I think they've gotten to the point where they're aware. I think what happened was they started ramping up production because things were going in their favor. And that's why people started noticing, not they started rushing because they realized they were being noticed. I think they stopped caring as much.
Well, yeah, I guess I should clarify. It wasn't really that the cult was being written weird. It's just I expected this to be more of a thing from a meta perspective. And I think another thing that's worth noting relative to that point is, strictly speaking, I don't think the cult really entirely sees the Fire Force as a direct enemy in the conventional sense. Like, they're operating on religious zeal, and they know that the Fire Force will stop them if they were, but like, they think they're doing the right thing.
Because that's the thing. The cult actually could work with the Fire Force if all the Fire Force cared about was putting out infernals when they pop up. Because from the cult's perspective, a infernal is a failed
Adola burst.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like, when you look at it from the perspective of what Rekka was doing, he's putting out infernals. He's just also making some extra ones. And, like, you know, like, that's the whole, it's an evil cult aspect of it. But, like, I don't necessarily think that, at least as far as right now, they see the Special Fire Force as a direct enemy. They just know that the Fire Force is never going to side with them. So, you know, they're going to fight back when they're inevitably, you know, confronted about it.
Speaking of people who don't like the cult, all of the captains get called together to talk to the Fire Pope.
To talk to the Sun Pope. Yeah. Though, Matt, I know that you had some feelings about Lieutenant Hinawa's participation in the Giant Infernal.
I forgot Hinawa, because they just let everyone. I completely forgot. The section is where they do all the, like, here are some side characters to do cool things. Hinawa takes a shotgun to shoot the infernal and essentially goes like, no one else needs to take care of this. I'll take care of him with the shotgun. Proceeds to fire his shotgun and then uses his acceleration, which is supposed to accelerate the gas in the bullet but it's on shotgun pellets.
Sure, they've already left the barrel, or that
There's
doesn't matter
nothing-
anymore.
They are chunks of metal. What is he using his fire powers on?
All I can think of is that the spark that would be charged from the gunpowder being ignited.
That doesn't help once it's out the barrel.
Like, he could make the explosion bigger. I don't understand why he can make the shotgun pellets move.
Because the panel zooms in on the pellets themselves after they have left the barrel. Like, it doesn't matter how hot you make the fire in the barrel. The thing that causes the projectile to move forward is the fact that it is directed down the barrel. Once it's out, you can't do anything about it anymore, which is why him redirecting the bullets also doesn't make sense.
Like I'm willing to, like, believe when he was using, like, his pistol, he's got, like, modified bullets that somehow take the chamber with them, I guess. Like, to keep having essentially they're mini rockets, not even bullets. Like, I'm willing to suspend disbelief for that. Like, if portal turrets can just shoot the entire bullet because it makes more sense from them, sure, why not? But, like, he makes shotgun pellets go faster.
Because of reasons.
Fire powers.
Yeah. Also, Hinawa and Obi noticed that there was the shadow of a man in a white robe and hood in the giant infernal shadow. I don't know. Either way,
I've been particularly complimentary on Fire Force, even onto the I looked for the detail and they made a point of not showing it. I'll explain why I thought that was pretty cool later. But one thing I do have to complain about, I looked really hard for any sign of the white robes in that montage. There were places you could have placed them in the clutter of the flames. They were not there. Watch as someone on Twitter points out the one I obviously missed. But
the captains are convened to go to the Sun Vatican to talk to the Sun Pope. about this whole evangelist situation, because Rekka does name drop the evangelist during the battle.
The particular flavor of crazy that Rekka is he presumes everybody is on his side and that any resistance is just them going through the motions, but they understand that Rekka's really the good guy here. Like that's the kind of crazy that he is.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, the evangelist wants this. Everybody wants what the evangelist wants. Let me explain to you what the evangelist wants.
Exactly. But we get all the captains brought in. And the Sun Cult. For one, we see the
It's the Tokyo Empire. This is the part where they really start doing the hardcore world building of this is the Tokyo Emperor and the Sun Pope is the Emperor of the Tokyo Empire, and they really want you to know that it's a Tokyo Empire now.
Not Japanese. It's the city of Tokyo is the empire.
And we also see the perpetual thermal energy plant Amaterasu, which produces all of Tokyo's power. And look, I don't mean to presume, but if I were a doomsday cult trying to turn the Earth into a second sun,
he does in his free time.
That's where I'd.
That's where I'd work.
That's where I'd work. I would work at a gigantic power plant that we find out later has an Adola burst in it named Amaterasu.
They never would find you.
Yeah, and you're like, oh man, is that like a fire? I'm like, no, that's definitely a baby. That's a person in the center of that power plant.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing to see here, folks.
We're at the beginning of the solar age.
Yeah, that's the solution to the modern energy crisis. We just need to burn the babies for power.
Unfortunately, what you should really burn is something you have a surplus of, and the birth rate has declined worldwide. If anything, you should burn the geriatrics for power.
But they're all like skin and bones and old. There's not a lot there left to. You know what? No, we're moving on.
Getting a little too Machiavellian for you?
We're solving real world problems.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody take this clearly farcical joke out of context, please.
But yeah, all the captains and also our main characters, except Arthur, because he got lost looking for Rekka.
He's gone for like 2 chapters in a row. I was so expecting that to be the beginning of a new plot arc. I thought Arthur got captured or something. No, he just got vanilla lost.
I'm so happy. Obi is just like, I'm glad Arthur finally came home. Why are you referring to him like he's a pet?
Because he is a pet.
Also, in all fairness to Arthur, when they say he got lost, that's because Shinra just flew away.
Yeah.
Arthur.
Well, they split up in order to find Rekka, and
and then Arthur got lost when he was on his own. Arthur is the Dalmatian mascot of the fire company.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, all the captains are here. Also, Lieutenant Flam, Shinra, and Tamaki, because we're doing a big debrief on this situation. Everyone's praying because they're in this big fancy cathedral, except the captain of Company 7, who he's too cool for this.
He's too cool for this. They arrive, and all of the Fire Force people like salute to the Emperor, and I forget if it's the Emperor himself or one of the Fire Cardinals who says it, but somebody is like, we understand that, you have your habits of procedure, but we're in a holy place. Perhaps a prayer would be more appropriate. And then they do the thing.
Yeah.
I like their little hand fire symbol prayer thing. That's pretty fun.
Sovereign of the Tokyo Empire, Raffles III. And he is the sovereign. He is also dressed like the Pope. So yeah, just papal states, straight up.
Sun Pope.
And he's like, all right, so we found out about this evangelist. All the fire companies are to consider the evangelist a traitor and strike him down. And the captain of Company 7 is like, didn't ask, plus L plus ratio, later losers.
You, your church, your God, everyone here.
I ain't swear fealty to no empire and no sun god. Then how'd you become a captain of a fire company.
They're setting up like the politics of this world, and like he's like a
proto-nationalist, yeah.
Or he's a proto-nationalist, yeah, that's what they specifically call him. And it's like Fire Force is either going to care about that and bring it up again, and when they bring it up again, I'll pay attention to that sort of thing, or it's just some wacky nonsense. I'm kind of assuming it's wacky nonsense right now, but we'll see.
Indeed. But he leaves, and the
Plague
fire
Doctor Captain is just like, hey, Shinra's going to be in a lot of danger, isn't he? We should come under our protection, right?
Yeah,
where we've got all our science equipment, so we can protect him.
He's got an Ebola burst. He's going to be a target for the evangelist. We should take him under protective custody.
Guinea pig.
And then Hibana like leans over to Obi and is like, yeah, you know how I was before you guys did a punch in the face intervention? Yeah, he's totally gonna do that to Shinra if you let this happen.
And Obi, actually, company number 8 will take will see to the protection of Shinra Kusakabe. That's fine with me. Just make sure you find the evangelist and kick his ass. Yes, sir, your holiness.
The other thing that's sort of important is that the Sun Pope knows about the Ebola burst, and he explains it, because that's how we know that the perpetual fire generator Amaterasu, or whatever it's called, we know that that is powered by an Ebola burst because that's explained. Fire Pope already knew about all of that. How about that?
Mm-hmm. And apparently the Amaterasu plant is powered by an Ebola burst that has been in there since the beginning of the Solar Age, which we don't know how long that is, but considering this empire now has its third sovereign, one can assume at least 3 generations.
It's been a minute.
But has it? We'll get into this in discussion. We gotta talk about this.
Yeah. Anyway, Shinra is placed under the protective custody of Company 8, so nothing changes, and he immediately wanders off
to go get light bulbs.
I'm like, you're doing a great job with this protective custody thing, Obi.
We are gonna defend Shinra with our life. Go to the store. I'm lazy. Hey, kid, I heard you wanted some plot information and light bulbs. Oh, Joker!
I love the panel of when he runs into Joker, because Joker was like listening in through some other agent to the meeting. Mm-hmm. And so Shinra's just walking down an alley, and all of a sudden, it's been a long time, Devil's Footprints, and it's just a panel of Joker in his casual wear, leaning against a building like, tee-hee, heart. And I'm just like, manga? Manga, no. Shinra immediately leaps into combat mode, and I love the fact that they started with the heart. I said tee-hee heart because there's an actual heart in his speech bubble.
Because basically all of the, like, except for like the like mains of Company 8, everybody has a thing about their eyes, and Joker's, I mean, it kind of goes without saying, but Joker's gimmick is playing card suits.
Yeah, and so his speech bubbles have the other suits in there. I'm like, okay, you just started with heart, but that
gives a connotation.
Calm down.
But yeah, we get I mean, Joker is literally like, hey kid, you want some plot information? Like, he almost literally says that.
Yeah, I was being completely one for one, is that's essentially what this scene is.
And he mentions that, you know how I implied that your brother Sho is alive? Well, I'm just going to tell you that I'm just going to remove the implication. Your brother Sho is alive. He's a villain now. Have fun with that, kid.
In all fairness, he doesn't say he's a villain. He just says that the cult has him.
The cult has him. Well, no, he says that Sho is the Knight Commander of the Knights of the Ashen Flame, which is the White Hood organization. He's like the military right hand of the Evangelist.
So he's doing well for himself.
And we get
he's probably moving up in the world.
Yeah.
we get this really awesome set of pages where it's like the secret cathedral where the cult has gathered. Everything is in darkness and shadow. There's a flaming grail. A man walks down a row of the white hoods holding a sword, and
As they kneel to him.
And it shows a boy sitting on a chair with a sword, and he grins, and he's got the pointy teeth. And I'm like, oh, he's manga. just throw that right. The speed at which this manga will just be like, plot reveal, just pitch them at your face like at like 30 miles an hour after like stretches of, some pretty standard pacing. It always catches me by surprise. The show got drip.
I mean, the thing is, the way that Joker goes up to Shinra and says, hey kid, you want some plot reveals, is basically what this manga will do at intermittent points. Not quite, but almost at random, like, hey audience, you want some plot reveals?
Yes, please.
Honestly, I think that's a big part of the reason why I'm so engaged with the mystery, because it doesn't just keep everything secret. It tells you things. So it's like, okay, but what does that mean?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'll get more into it later, but the mystery in when we get to discussion, but the mystery in this part really gripped me. I am into the plot now.
Well, because here's the thing, like a standard series, what you would do is you would only tell the audience that Sho was the Knight Captain after this. Or you just play up the Knight Captain for Shinra to realize at the end, oh, it was my brother. Meanwhile, Fire Force is like, hey, it'd be a cool plot reveal in the future that I'm going to tell you right now? The person you got to fight's your brother. Yo, deal with that shit. I'm out.
He says... He vanishes, says hell is fitting for a devil, and then manipulates the smoke coming off his cigarette to spell bye in the air. I love Joker so much. He's such a ham of a villain. He is an entire Easter dinner. He's so hammy. Shinra is suitably screwed up about this. He doesn't want to tell any of Company 8. Hinawa is immediately like, with my laser eyes, I have noted that you are sad. Tell me why you are sad.
I love the moment that they have, and also honestly, it's. Oh
yeah, I'm memeing about it, but it is actually incredibly touching. Like I was reading it, I'm like, my heart is warm. This is great.
My heart is warm like a flame.
Wait, no, that's bad in this.
One of the things I liked about the whole situation is that Shinra's immediate response is, there's a decent chance that he was just lying through his teeth about literally everything he said just to screw with my head.
Mm-hmm.
But what if he's not, though? I've got a lot of stuff to process. So like the mental work that he's doing to like decide on whether or not, like, who can he trust? Will he trust everyone? Will he just trust Captain Obi? Like, just keep it to himself. He kind of starts to come to the conclusion that it's like, I know what I'm going to do, but if I explain this to everyone else, they're either going to think I'll turn traitor, or they'll hold back against my brother and it could get one of them killed and I wouldn't be able to have that on my conscience. So I think I'm just going to hold on to this until I can confirm that anything he said was true.
Yeah, and meanwhile, while Shinra's going through this like big mental debate about like, do I tell my team? Do I trust the people I work with? They're doing all of this paperwork and like investigation, reading through things to figure it out. And my favorite bit is Arthur is on death's door because thinking is not this boy's strong suit.
And they make him read and think all day.
Oh, and my other favorite part is, as I called in our last session, through some plot convenience, Tamaki gets transferred to Company 8 because she got suspended for Company 1 for facilitating child abduction is actually, a pretty fair thing to get suspended for.
Yeah. I like suspended from Company 1, but like, going to a different company considering that she didn't like she wasn't actually aware of what was going on.
I mean, Jacob, not to be a bit too political here, but she is essentially a police officer who messed up. They just move him to a different division.
Oh, no yeah, no, this is exactly this is exactly what happens.
Yeah, it's art imitating life. Wait.
Yeah, there's a lot of that in this manga.
But no, my favorite bit is the stupid joke they have because it's very like everyone's really stressed because of all of this, and Shinra's being more stressed than everyone else. So the atmosphere in the it's right after Hinawa confronts him and says, "If you can't trust me, tell Obi. I have no place for someone who's not willing to be part of the team, though." Like, if you're lying to us, that's something I care about. Like, the team needs open information. So the atmosphere is super tense.
Hinwa does a good job of phrasing it in such a way that, like Shinra's like, is that a threat? But, like, he does phrase it in such a way that sounds heartwarming, though, which is kind of what...
It could be interpreted as a threat, though, is the very important thing.
Well, yeah.
I like Company 8. I want you to like and trust us as well. Okay.
But regardless, the atmosphere is tense because of it.
Mm-hmm.
And Maki picks up on that, and she's just like, okay, everyone's probably hungry. We've been working all day. Me and Tamaki, being the girls, as this is a manga, but this is how this is determined, are going to do the cooking.
Mm-hmm.
And then Hino was just like, are you sure you two want to... You know what? Yeah, fine. And they go off. And off screen...
It goes bad immediately.
It takes 2 seconds, and then Shinra's like, what could possibly have gone wrong? Turns the corner. Tamaki has burned all of her clothes off, except for the apron.
So she is now naked in the apron. And
It's a special type of talent.
No one is sure how this happened. She gets pushed off screen, and then Hino's like, I guess I'm going to have to cook.
No, I love it, because Maki's like, how? I saw you put the apron on over your jumpsuit?
This makes no sense.
The part of this joke that I enjoyed was that Shinra echoes basically what the audience has to deal with when it comes to Tamaki, like her bit or not. He just says, "Look, I've stopped questioning this. Don't even try." Like, he just says it out loud.
I just realized we skipped over my favorite Tamaki bit in all of this because we kind of breezed over the beginning. She had another Lucky Lure that wasn't really that funny on its own, but it was funny because what happened was she knocked on the door and Arthur went to open the door and she opened it anyway and like essentially got an upskirt from it. And Arthur was just like, what are you doing? You knocked on the door. I went to open it. Why on earth would you do this?
Open the door.
He doesn't react at all to the scenario itself because he's like, he's over this. He's just like, why? You are doing this to yourself.
He stopped caring at this point.
And she stumbled away and knocked her ass directly into Shinra's face. And yeah.
Well, you see, it was magnetic.
Also, my other favorite bit is that's the moment that causes Bubble Blowing Guy and Juggernaut to both have a crush on Tamaki, and they try and get her phone number.
Yep.
And by trying to get her phone number in the most beta way ever, by asking Shinra if he could get her number.
Oh, I don't know, Shinra. If you want my phone number, I guess I could give it to you. No, I was going to give it to this guy. Why?
That was pretty good.
Just ask me yourself then. That's what I told them.
I like that they're keeping it like a subtle background thing. It's similar to the thing with Hibana where I don't think that Tamaki like actually has a crush on Shinra. It's just she'd be willing to date him if he asked because of him rescuing her. Because she doesn't act weird around him like Hibana does, is the thing.
I don't think Hibana has just a crush on Shinra. I think Hibana's got some other weird things going on.
Fair point, but the point I'm making is this is a trashy fun shonen where, you know, like one of the elements of like this type of shonen is an element of wish fulfillment, and they're doing the harem protagonist thing in a way that doesn't get in the way, which I appreciate. Like if you want to pay attention to this element of the story, it's there for you, but they never let it get out of control. And I appreciate that.
I don't even know if I'd call it a harem. It's maybe two, one of which is kind of weird because it's maybe not even romantic.
They set up the ship with Iris. They debatably set up the ship with Maki. And then out overtly with Hibana, and now there's it's like they're setting up the ships if you care, which I think is the right way of doing that.
But anyway, it ends up Hinoa has to cook dinner for everyone. They all eat, and in this, like, everyone's eating, so they're feeling better. Unfortunately, Arthur was fed right before he died.
And
only they'd
Shinra was
waited-
very sad about it.
if only they'd waited a little longer, Arthur could have been dead. But in this it's like a very familial bonding moment of everyone eating together and sharing a meal that Shinra is kind of like, yeah, I can't keep lying to these people. They're essentially my family. I gotta be upfront, even if it complicates things. Hey, guys, I got something to get off my chest. Joker told me that my brother might be the arch captain of the cult that we're trying to hunt. And they're all like, that's cool.
One of my favorite bits in this is as Shinra is going to take the food to everybody, Hinawa is doing the dishes, and Obi comes in like, okay, so how is Shinra doing? And great panel. Hinawa's just like, you didn't recruit any pushovers to Company 8. He'll be fine. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah, that was a really sweet moment. I liked that a lot.
Dad.
Affirmation from Dad.
Yes, both dads are very proud of Shinra. But
yeah, that kind of transitions us into they find out something from all their research that they're like, yes, the very first mission that Special Company 8 ever went on also involves someone with a white hood. Yes, that mission sounds very important to the plot. Well, too bad. We need to give you a flashback of what happened slightly before that mission, and then we'll just kind of rush telling you what happened on that mission. Okay. We'll work with that.
Time for backstory.
I just love how like the backstory is slightly misplaced.
Yeah, no, it's not relevant to what they're talking about at all.
So I bet you're all curious as to how Special Company 8 came to be. I mean, yeah, but we've got more pressing concerns. Lieutenant Hino, explain it to them. Why? Because you're a better speaker. No, but Captain, sir, we really do need to get work on this evangelist situation. So anyway, when I was in the military...
we then give essentially a backstory about how two friends met when they're trying to find a cult. Like it's a good backstory, but like from a like the fact he's telling his subordinates this seems very out of place.
Yeah.
Family moment. That's why it makes sense. I'm not going to say no to the backstory, but fine.
The backstory essentially, it is very well written, and it does a lot to... I mean, it's all things that have been inferred about Hinawa and Obi, but it confirms it like explicitly, and I appreciated that.
It's also got like a lot of subtle world building that I really appreciate. It's just people living in the world, but because it's a different thing than we normally see, you get like a lot of different perspectives that, when compared, allow you to like make a lot of inferences about how the world exists.
Hinawa had a friend in the military who was like, you're always so gruff and grumpy and serious all the time, but you've got a good heart. And Hinawa was like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
There was a bit about my original thought process was to go into a whole diatribe about this, but I realized before we started recording that's not ultra relevant. Basically, what it boils down to is Hinawa is reflexively kind to the point where he doesn't even notice it himself. And this is the person who like is trying to awaken him to that truth, which he's not Obi. So
his friend who just decided he went to this new religion that's spouting out, which I guess it must not be new, but the way this guy talks about the fire church is as if it's a new thing. It's kind of weird.
I mean, religions take time to spread. I think like
a wildfire.
I think this is the sort of, because this is also at a visually much younger Hinawa, so we can presume that this was quite a while ago.
Yeah,
and
many years ago, and possibly even before like Shinra's time. It's a bit of a subtle world building way of showing like the differences between generations, because something that is new to one generation is the way it has always been to the next one.
Yep. But anyway, dude found this new religion that probably, I don't know, he found a new religion to him, and he's just like, yeah, no, I got my gun baptized. And I'm like, dude, what? you took your military gun to get baptized?
I mean, Hinawa, if you went infernal, wouldn't you want to be shot with a baptized gun? What a weird question. That'll never come up.
Would you rather, if you had to be shot, would you rather the gun be baptized or not? What?
Hinawa's reaction is quite frankly a pretty reasonable one. I'm still getting shot with a bullet. I'd be dead either way.
All I know is if I went infernal, I'd like to get shot with a baptized gun. Well, I don't think that's going to be a problem. Later that night, Hinua's friend, I'm going infernal! Hinua, shoot me before I lose my mind!
Hey, we've got these non-baptized guns over here. We're gonna shoot this infernal. Wait, no! Oh, man. I messed up. I should have used his baptized gun. What? He didn't have his friend's baptized gun.
Yeah, no. He couldn't pull the trigger because his gun wasn't baptized, and it's like for some reason I can't do it. It's almost as if we had this big character moment earlier, literally that day, and then the firing squad arrives.
I love how this moment causes him to go from 0 to 60. Though he instantly goes to the man at arms and is like, "Hey, I'd like to register my friend's gun in my name." Well, you are in the army, so this is something we just let people do. Here you go. Have your friend's gun. And I'm like, what? Okay.
Well,
and then he
now
proceeds to take that gun and just walk around the city with that gun. He's just on a break. He's just walking around with that gun.
Being contemplative in his grief.
In all fairness, he is in the army. It is probably his service pistol. So him having it on him is not weird, but the fact that they just gave him his friend's gun.
Yeah, there are red flags that maybe someone should have been paying closer attention to.
The red flags immediately pop up because there is an infernal going off, and some stranger comes up to him and is like, "Hey, there's a dude in that hair who's got an infernal. You want to come help me kill him?" And he's just like, "I do have this baptized gun." And I'm like, buddy.
Well, the way it works is there's Hinua stumbles onto an infernal situation, and the blue stripes show up, and it's like, so this helpful fire chief from the regular firefighters walks up and says, "So yeah, we've got 2 infernals. One of them is far more aggressive, and we've managed to contain it in a place that we've evacuated civilians from. The other is more passive and is enduring the flames, but he's right here. You could go deal with him super quickly." "No, that's boring. We're gonna go do the boss fight now. But this other person is suffering. Don't care. Didn't ask. Get out of the way." "Okay, then." That's fucked up. And Obi goes to cross jurisdictional boundaries and put that passive infernal out of his misery. And Hinua's like, "Hey, that's pretty justice of you. I'm coming with. Aren't you in the military? Aren't you a firefighter?" "Yeah, okay, let's do it."
"You want to break laws together and commit a potential homicide?" "Heck yeah." And then they fist bump. And then they realize they want to be together forever.
God.
There's strong romantic energy in this scene.
There really is. And honestly, I am about it.
I ship it.
I ship it too. Yeah, they go and put that infernal out of its misery.
To a friend who will cross police tape to commit a homicide with you.
Once all the blowback from doing that crime pans out, I'm going to start my own fire company, one with better morals than these losers. Hey, when you do that, I'll join you.
And I'm just like, buddy, what? Obi's just like, "Yeah, so that crime we just committed, once I deal with the consequences for that, I'm just going to become head of my own fire company. I know there's only 7 of them now. I'm going to build the 8th. And I'm like, buddy, goals, but what?
Well, I believe in future Captain Obi. And
me too.
Mostly because this is a flashback and I know how it ends.
That's the only way I could have known this would work out well for him.
Yeah, Hinua also thinks it's kind of pie in the sky, but hey, it does end up panning out, and Obi resolves to only recruit honest folk who value life, not glory-seeking psychopaths like the rest of those idiots.
Hey, there was this really buff girl from my, or actually she was skin and bones when she joined the army.
Yeah, no, that was something I wanted to point out. She doesn't look different in the 2 versions. Like, she looks the same.
They really only show that Maki is buff when she flexes. Or when she's in her witch outfit. You can see the 6-pack when she's in her witch outfit.
But
But wait, never mind.
I know, Jay. You cannot tell the difference between Maki and Tamaki.
They look like twins, okay?
One of them has a ponytail, the other has pigtails, but yes.
Which is twin energy. They
One of
totally
them
would
is
do
taller
that.
than the other.
Yes, not by much.
They do look very similar, and the fact that their names are Maki and Tamaki is a little funny.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like having Dan and Stan in the fire company.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
Obi and Toby.
So that is the origins of Company 8. Oh yeah, and our first call that we ever went out on, the victim was a man in a white robe who left behind a weird red cross, just like those antagonists we fought.
Captain Obi, I'm really wondering, why didn't you just give that 2-sentence explanation about what happened in the first mission? Because it seems like you spent no time on it.
Anyway, that's the end of our reading.
There was one more important bit with the person in the white robes who burned. You know, like there was the red cross at the scene, and that the white robes and the red cross is the reason why they attached it to what's going on now. But the other element that was important is the person had absolutely no next of kin to speak of, but the company he worked for, the company that doesn't seem to do anything, was very, very, very interested in settling his affairs on their end and getting the thing done and over with as quickly as possible. And it is a company that is in the territory of Company 7, the people who walked out earlier. So basically, Company 8 kicks in the door and says, hi.
I love this. The Company 7 captain comes home after wandering through town, and his lieutenant is like, so yeah, Company 8 called. They want to come over and do some investigation about the whole evangelist thing. Just ignore them. That's such a pain in the ass. I don't want to deal with them. And then turn of the page, Obi walking in with the crew behind him. Excuse us, we're Company 8. We called earlier. Sorry, but we're here.
Excuse me, the next arc is starting now.
I love it. That is
Fire Force to a T. No,
it is Fire Force to a T.
Sir. We're not going to go through proper channels. We're invading Company 5. The next arc is starting now.
This is just such a Company 8 thing to do. It is, I am respecting you as a fellow fire company by calling first, but I'm asserting my authority as the protagonist company by coming in anyway.
I don't, you saw what we did to Company 5. Do you want us to conduct an unsanctioned military raid of your establishment with live ammunition?
Hey. That was a training exercise. It's completely different.
Completely different.
Yes, it was retroactively called a training exercise. You're right.
But that is actually the end of our reading. And so on to discussion. Favorite character and favorite fight. Obviously, the Shinra Rekka fight is the best one.
I think I'm even of the mindset, I don't think there is even another fight in this reading. Like the one with Captain Burns at the beginning isn't so much a fight as like...
Well... I mean, that was the only major fight. I do want to, if we're all in agreement that the only, major fight in the thing is the best one, I will shout out a second favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Because I really enjoyed the very first, beginning of the next arc mini fight that Shinra had with the Infernal in the very beginning, because they the way that they did Shinra's fighting style and how he uses mobility and moves his body to kick from unexpected angles and things like that was just so well done in this section. I'm pretty sure it was great in the last section, but it just stood out so much this time.
Indeed. But as for favorite character, I gotta go with Captain Hinawa. Captain.
Promoting him.
Lieutenant.
That's in the future when Obi tragically dies.
Or is promoted to Space Pope. Wait, no. Is promoted to Sun Pope.
Sun Pope, yeah.
Space Pope.
Yeah, he's going to be Space Pope instead of Sun Pope.
Well, when there's a second star, some kind of living sun, which is definitely nothing that exists in anything else Ōkubo has written.
But anyway, Lieutenant Hinawa is absolutely my favorite character in this reading. He was already a very entertaining character last time, but he hadn't ascended to favorite status. In this, he got so much depth added to his character. He was part of so many just heartwarming moments. He was great. I loved Hinawa in this. Jay, how about you? Favorite character?
Favorite character, hands down, is Shinra, because I wish him all the success in the world, and he is inspiring.
Indeed. Jacob.
That's honestly a rough one for me. I'm pretty sure I mentioned this last time that whilst the characters are definitely good, and I don't have like specific not that I dislike the characters, but I don't know entirely that the characters are the biggest strength of Fire Force. And a lot of them were, like good. I liked them, and there wasn't a character that like really elevated themselves in particular. But there were 3 that did stand out in my mind, and that would be Shinra for all of his cool hero moments. He was just really on point this time. Rekka for being such a spectacular villain.
Mm-hmm.
And it's probably going to surprise people, but Tamaki as well. I did not particularly find her jokes funny, but she definitely had a really cool character arc of coming to realize that, her hero was actually as evil as it gets and was up against someone who outclassed her and couldn't like do a lot of like physical stuff. You got to save that for Protag Kun over here. But she really shined in a sort of, like defiance in spite of being completely outclassed sort of way. And I really appreciated that. Of those 3, who I most appreciate, probably Rekka, in all honesty. He's just such a spectacular villain.
Mm-hmm.
Last time it was Hibana, but we just didn't get enough fun stuff with her. I want to see more Hibana, I'm not gonna lie.
For how quickly Rekka showed up and was subsequently knocked back down, he left an amazing impression.
Mm-hmm.
Some would say him being gone feels like a giant hole in your chest.
Too soon.
And Matt.
Honest answer is probably Tamaki. She's got like a lot of fun bits. I appreciate her jokes in this. I didn't have a problem with her jokes last time though, so
yeah, that's very much an acquired taste moment.
Yeah, I'll
the jokes were better handled, and they didn't perturb me this time. So
yes.
Yeah,
I believe this went better than our last Fire Force episode, where I think me and Jacob almost got into an actual fight over this. It's clearly gotten better.
Yeah.
And then but like she also had some great character moment. I really love the trope of like someone you idolize turning out to be a monster and dealing with that, and then she gets fired from her job and has to work with Company 8, and that's always fun. Just because she just got mentioned. I'll also go for background characters. I'm so sad my boy Arthur got delegated to that in this, but I loved his bit. Every time Arthur is on the screen, he's doing something funny, and I loved it. And then Noto is really funny. I love him so much. I loved him last time. I didn't think he got enough, and then he showed up here with I just want firefighters to protect me. No. And then the bit about wanting Tamaki's number is also really funny.
Yeah. Thoughts about or any theories about this spontaneous human combustion thing? What in the goddamn is going on with that?
So can we establish how long has the human combustion been going on? It can't be that long.
Mm-hmm.
Because the special company is a recent development. We learned that last time.
I'm pretty sure what's going on is that it's accelerating. I don't think it's been a crisis for very long, but I do think it's actually been going on for a while.
So here's the thing. I kind of was wondering at this point, are people even naturally spontaneously combusting at all?
Or are the bugs just the next version of what's already been happening?
It's like, if this cult is acting, maybe they've already been doing this, and like that's why I thought, did we get established last time if spontaneous combustion was what caused the world to fracture, or did the world fracture because of war, and then what they're dealing with now is fear of fire?
Yeah, I don't think that was explained.
I don't think that was, they definitely didn't say specifically what was going on, but I think the impression that I got from the reading was that the world was in a bad place. It was really tense. One little thing going wrong would have caused everything to fall apart. And then people suddenly started randomly turning into fire demons and killing everyone around them, which caused the world to fall apart. You know, that's sort of the impression I got, and that like it started off as an extremely rare occurrence, but as time has gone on, it has become more and more common. And that, you know, the world reformed around that truth, and that's how we have the Solar Age.
Yeah, because the Sun Church definitely got popular with the recent human combustion, but I think infernals are a new development. I think maybe people were exploding into fire before.
Yeah.
But not turning into infernals. Okay, yeah, that's possible.
I think maybe that's it, because otherwise the timelines are kind of weird to me, because like we've got like this empire has existed for at least 3 generations.
And that's curious because there's also the 3 generations of pyrokinetic.
Which, I don't know, we talked about those last time.
They're not actual generations. Yeah.
Me and Jay are of the opinion that like degrees would have been better, because first, second, and third degree is already a fire term. But like as we got in this chapter, one of the volume bonuses at the end is Ōkubo going, so Fire Force is international now. As you see on the cover, I changed Maki's headplate, so it no longer says Fire Soldier, it says Fire Force. Because someone told me in English, Fire Soldier sounds really stupid.
Hey,
And
he's open to criticism, constructive criticism. That is dumb.
And I'm like, cool. And he's just like, yeah, no, they said Fire Squad or Fire Force, and then explained to me that Fire Squad is like a really small military group. So I'm like, Fire Force, cool. I don't care as long as it's, and like, well, doesn't that, you can't just change that mid-story. What about your integrity as a writer? He's like, if it's cool, I'll do it.
You know what? I vibe with that.
I appreciate that.
Ōkubo is a man who knows he wants to write a story and will do it anyway. And I'm just like, he knows what he's writing. He is not apologetic about it. And I'm like, I don't know. There's something deep down in me that kind of appreciates a writer who does not just bow to his fan base.
Well, I mean, it's also the fact that people need to accept that there are definitely enough of a subset of writers who generally are just writing to have fun. So
yeah,
I'm definitely under no impression that Ōkubo wants to. He does have themes he wants to touch on, but that is not the point of the writing.
To him, this does not come off as a deep exploration of a theme that has, lived in his head for a long time. This is, he's got themes he wants to do stuff with, and he's having fun making a cool shonen manga in the process.
Yeah.
But,
in other words, it's not that deep, friends. It's not that deep. Have fun.
On the spontaneous human combustion thing, I kind of have to ask, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Did a group of maniac fire cultists, or possibly like scientists that evolved into a
religious cult,
into a religious cult, did they figure out how to give people fire powers, or did this spontaneously begin and the doomsday cult sprang up around that? Because one of the things that I actually really like about this is this is always something that you kind of know that this is how these things go in the background, that the hero and the villain, or the protagonist and antagonist, they don't begin their schemes at exactly the same time. By the very definition of the word, the antagonist has done something that must be responded to. This plays with that really well, because it very much feels like the doomsday cult is already on like step 5 of their plan, and just now the Fire Force is like, uh-oh.
we need a plan. We don't even have a step 1 to get on.
Exactly.
Meanwhile, Doomsday Cult has already been like, we're no longer in hiding. We're attacking you with white hooded figures with 8 times all 8 captains. Like, yeah.
It really makes the world feel like a continuous thing. It makes you feel like there was a past to this, and it obscures the hand of the author very well.
Yeah, I will say, like, Fire Force, I think I can confidently say, like, of the series we've read, I think it's got some of the best world building.
Oh,
because it feels natural, and like in a lot of shonens, you don't get that. Because in all fairness, I've defended other shows before this. You don't get the time to do that in a lot of things. Fire Force starts with a very simple premise, but like at every point, the world building is there. And you know what? You probably can give Ōkubo some leeway, considering this is his 2nd series, so he had some clout going into it. He had some time, and also not in Jump. So
yeah.
I mean, we love you, Jump, but you know,
I
He
am
would-
a big lover and proponent of jump and constraints.
We wouldn't have gotten the hole through Rekka if this was in Jump.
Well, and you know, like there's the element of constraints, you know, foster creativity, but sometimes taking limiters off and just going for it, you know, gives you something special too. And this is an example of that.
Yeah. So I don't really have a theory yet. I'm just very curious on the chicken or the egg question.
that's my kind of thing. I can't really come up with a theory because the timelines are not making sense to me, and I need to figure out what came before what before I can be like, okay, well then this is short of Amaterasu is going to be a like 9th level entity fire user who is going to fight some people in a really cool god battle. That's all I know. That's definitely happening.
Oh,
Yeah,
that is happening.
That's the finale of the series. So my theory is a bit more specific to the actual events of this reading section, and more specifically about the Cult of the Ashen Flame or whatever they're called. I noted that element of we didn't see if the stitching that was a signature element of Rekka's uniform was there when the little bug was placed on the civilian. And on top of that, when Rekka and Flam were standing on the other side of that alleyway, they were kind of just standing there, not really, you know, reacting to, say, Rekka having just arrived or anything like that, and Shinra being right behind him. Whoever placed the bug on that civilian had to have run to be able to get away from Shinra seeing which of the two it was. That combined with a tiny little piece of dialogue that I couldn't help but notice when Flam arrived. I've mentioned the kind of crazy that Rekka is, so I might be completely off base, but I think that maybe he was given that character trait to obscure this detail. Because when Flam arrives, Rekka says, "Why are you stopping me?" And my immediate thought is, Matt pointed out how absolutely wacky it is. The idea that, yeah, no, those drugs were there to see if you were looking for people who had drugs.
Yeah, it is a tad too convenient.
I'm wondering because, like, we know that this cult is completely on board with eliminating their own members if they think it benefits them. So the fact that he was a target of one of the sniper shots does not really give me pause in saying this. I think that both of them, if not more of the Company One people, were in on it all along. I think that Flam is a member of the cult as well.
It is a very neat way of wrapping up the subversive element in Company One, because now we've eliminated the subversive element in Company One, allegedly, and now this powerful member of Company One is joining us in our mission.
We trust him now. We'll tell him everything we find out about the cult.
Mm-hmm.
He's in the perfect position to stop them. Like maybe he's a good guy and I'm totally off base, but if he's not, he's in the perfect position to betray them.
So, Jacob, I was with you right up until you said it was Flam, because I'm like, no, it's Lee. There's only 3 people with that cloaks, and 2 of those people were just standing there. Lee did it. And Lee's going to come in after he got his arm shot off, and he's going to reveal himself to be the big bad, and is going to regrow his arm into a
Arm in
flame
fire.
Oh,
Like, that is also totally a possibility. And honestly,
we don't know Lee's power. He skipped his fight.
Yeah,
You're right.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, like there's definitely arrows pointing. The big thing for me was, why did he have the bug? Like, that is so suspicious. But like, in all honesty, it wouldn't stun me if all 3 of them were in on it.
They were all such good friends.
So yeah, that's sort of where I'm coming from a theory crafting perspective. I'm expecting my primary suspect right now is Flam, but you are right, Matt. The fact that the third guy, I just remember that he got his arm shot off. I don't remember his name either.
Lee
definitely pointed out some really important elements of him. Him not fighting is suspicious inherently.
And we know that this cult is very good at plans within plans. But with all of this theory crafting out of the way, I've got another question here on the outline. How has your opinion of Fire Force changed between this reading and the last one? Fire Force it has quality, it's good, but I felt that it was very, it was very basic. It was a very like boilerplate shonen, and that's fine. That is in. Most things are going to just be mid, but now it has gone from that to we see all this great world building. We have this really intricate plot, this mystery that we are getting appropriate amounts of information for at the right time. I am invested. I am sucked in. So I eagerly await our next episode on it.
Yeah, Matt here. I don't know. I was a big proponent of Fire Force last time. I think I enjoyed it just as much this time, with maybe like I'm a little more hooked and motivated to read the next bit because the mystery is all that deeper and like it's actually got some teeth to it this time rather than just the tease of it. So yeah. I'm on the Princess Hibana train, and hopefully she can get more screen time next time.
She needs more panel time. Come on.
Yeah,
everybody wants to see more.
I mean, in all fairness, we did get a shower scene this reading, so I'm not,
That was pretty good, not gonna lie.
We did see a lot of her in a literal sense.
Look, I'm just saying, equal opportunity shower time. Where's Obi and Hinoma taking their lovely couple shower?
Oh
okay. So I appreciate series that do that. I have my own personal preferences, but I'd rather a series do something like what Eden Zero did.
Exactly.
Next bonding moment for the group. Team shower, everybody.
Oh my
Everybody.
god.
Wait a minute.
If they don't go to a hot spring, because
Is it
hot
even
spring,
an anime?
Well,
Is it even an anime?
it's Fire Force. They need to go to a hot spring.
have to go to a hot spring, and there will be some firepower associated thing with what makes the hot spring hot. They have to do that.
If not, we need to check and see if the anime ever did an OVA of them going to a hot spring, because that's a filler I'll watch. Like,
Yep, absolutely.
How about you, Jay? Has your opinion on Fire Force changed in?
Not in the least. I was already hooked. I already see the fact that, for me at least, as I prefaced the last time, I did not finish all of Soul Eater because it just for some reason did not, draw me in. Fire Force did and does.
not really a
right.
fan of moons. You like suns better, I see.
There's a metaphor in there somewhere.
No,
And Jake.
Soul Eater, they go to the moon, and clearly Fire Force is being all about the sun.
No. I mean, liking the sun over the moon. There's a metaphor in there somewhere. Yeah, and okay, so I think I started the episode by saying that the vast majority of my complaints about Fire Force had been alleviated basically within the first half of the first chapter. I think it goes without saying that my opinion has gone from the mystery hooks me, but there are a lot of things about it that annoy me that make me not like wholeheartly on board with it. And I was really just hooked on the mystery and nothing else. Now, again, I feel that the fan service gets intrusive at times, but even that was so much better than it was last time. That withstanding, this is my shonen trash, and the mystery has only gotten better. Mm-hmm. This has shot up to near Eden Zero in terms of my personal tier list. It's not there. It's not quite that high, but it is definitely massively improved in my eyes. Again, just like the fact that the first chapter does exactly the thing perfectly that I had complained about last time. There's going to be it's going to be a thing on the OverMangaCast where there's going to be I'm going to call a series a Chainsaw Man, where we do one episode and I'm the only one who complains about it because I'm actually doing literary analysis and scrutinizing.
I'm just saying, Jacob, the more times that happens, though, maybe the problem's not with the
There's at least one case where I didn't like something everyone else liked, and I hated it more the second time. But we'll not get into that. But yeah, this is absolutely God damn it. This is absolutely a Chainsaw Man for me. I went from meh to absolutely hooked.
So safe to say we would all continue reading?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
So, thank you so much once again for tuning in to the OverMangaCast. If you want to follow us on the social medias, you can find us on everything where we are at OverMangaCast. Follow us for our high-quality, supreme posting and announcements of what we're going to be doing next.
Throw us suggestions on Twitter, especially if it's something that you think I'll hate in the first episode and then love in the rest of it, because that's a thing now, I guess.
I suppose so. And we're also on YouTube. Go like, comment, and subscribe. And the comment section there, a great way to keep in touch with us on an individual episode. And make sure to tune in next week, because we're keeping up the fire theme. We are going to read Burn the Witch. So
it's not that's not an exclamation. That is apparently a Shonen Jump manga.
It's by Tight Kubo.
Yeah, by Tate Kubo. I'm looking forward to it. This one has been on my radar because it just looked like an aesthetic I very much enjoyed. It is London witches fighting dragons. This is going to be great. So tune in next week for that, everybody.
You said all the words I like. So yeah, tune in next week, folks.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Hey, you. No. Don't look over here. Keep your eyes on the road. Got something for you. Take a listen to this.
And depending on what you give them, some people don't like some stuff.
I figured that out too.
What, did you give like a dandelion to the hobo and he's like, you think because I'm homeless I want this trash?
No, I just walked around giving people gifts, and everything I gave everyone, they hated. So I was like, all right. I was fishing, and I was just giving people fish. I was like, here is a sunfish. And they're just like, what am I supposed to do with this? I'm like, I don't know, eat it! It's a fish! Release it back into the water. I don't care.
Wait, what would you say if somebody, like the new farmer in town, just gave you a fish while you were walking down the street, minding your own business?
If I lived in a rural area where people ate, like, there's a fisherman. That's all he does in the village. So it's like, I'm sure fish become gifts, right? Like, that's gotta be a thing, right?
Are you saying right now fish become gifts?
Here's some food. Like, it's just like, here's a cake, but here's a thing that is nourishing to you.
You're telling me that you get the same gift value out of giving somebody a cake as you get from giving them a raw fish?
Well, no, because the fish is... Whatever. I'm sure someone wants the fish. Maybe they're the ones I'll marry. The ones that want the raw fish. If you like what you heard and love co-op with your friends, check out Gaming Together, a cooperative podcast. That's Gaming Together, a cooperative podcast.